Okay, so we have here your activity last meeting. For the problem 1, you have designed the most economical A36 steel base plate to resist a column which is W16 by 100. The service load is given, so we have here the dead load, that is 1,200 kilonewton, and we also have here the live load, that is equal to 1,800 kilonewton. The dimension of the concrete pedestal is 700 by 700, so we have here the concrete pedestal here, that is 700 by 700 in dimension. The steel base plate is not resting on the full area of the concrete. Okay, so we have to use FC prime, that is equal to 27 MPa. For W16100, the depth of this column section is equal to 432 mm and the width is equal to 264 mm. Okay, so for our solution, so sabi natin dito, we have to design the most economical base plate. Okay, so to have the most economical section of a base plate, yung M natin is should be equal to N. So parehas yung bending natin. So para maging most economical yung makukuha nating design ng base plate, that is M is equal to N. Parehas yung distance kung saan magbe-bend yung ating base plate, yung bending natin. So, pag M is equal to N, ang alam natin, yung M, yung equation ng M, that is N minus 0.95 D over 2. And the equation for N, so that is equal to, our equation for N is equal to B minus 0.8 BF over 2. Okay? So, simplifying this equation, either yung gusto nyong kunin, yung N in terms of B, or yung B in terms of N. Okay? So, kunin natin N in terms of B here. So, that is N. So, magka-cancel yung 2. Since pag minultiply mo, magka-cancel yan. Minus 0.95. The value of D is equal to 432 mm. That is equal to B minus 0.8. Our BF is equal to 264. Okay, so simplifying further, that is N minus 410.4. That is equal to B minus 211.2. So in terms of B, yung dimension natin ng N is equal to B plus 199.2 in mm. Okay, so this would be now our equation for solving N. And yung dimension natin ng B is just greater than 199.2 kaysa dun sa dimension natin ng N. Okay? So, yan yung una nating kukunin. So, the most economical A36 steel base plate. Okay. So, for our bearing on pedestal, so based on the bearing on the pedestal, yung ating support. So, if you remember, we have two limits. The bearing on the pedestal or yung support natin, and then yung ating for the bending para makuha natin yung thickness. Okay? So, our design should be greater than or equal to our ultimate load. So, we have here the service load. So, our PU is equal to 1.2 dead load, 1.6 live load. Okay? So, yung PU natin is 1.2. Our dead load is equal to 1,200 kilonewton plus 1.6, 1,800 kilonewton. So, solving for our value for PU, that is equal to 432 320 kilonewton. So kindly check if my calculation is correct. And our phi here, the value of our phi is equal to 0.65. Okay? So if we have now the value of phi, we also have now the value of pu. Ano yung equation natin to solve for our nominal strength PP? Sabi natin, steel base plate is not resting on the full area. So, yung ating PP is equal to 0.85 FC prime A1, the square root of A2 over A1. And this should be less than or equal to 1.70 FC prime A1. So this equation should be less than 1.70 FC prime of A1. So how do we solve for our A1 and A2? So we have to look here in our diagram, in our drawing. So yung A1 natin is the area of our base plate. That is the full area that is in contact with our pedestal. So our A1 here is equal to B times N. Since hindi natin alam yung dimension ng B and yung dimension ng N. So in terms of B and N muna tayo. And what would be our value for our A2? Okay. So for our A2, assuming we have to get this full length, maximize yung full length natin. So this will be Z. Okay? So Z is to 700. So let's say Z is to 700. That is equal to B over N. So what would be now our Z? Our Z is equal to 700B over N. That is our Z. And for our A2, yung A2 natin, that is the area, yung concentric, the maximum area concentric with our supports. Okay? So yung area 2 natin dito is equal to V700 multiplied by Z. So, ano yung value natin ng Z? This is equal to 700B over N. Diba? So, if we substitute yung etong Z natin dito, our area 2 now will become 700 times yung Z natin, which is 700 ulit. So, 700 squared times B over N. Yan yung magiging area 2 natin. Okay? So, meron tayong area 1, meron tayong area 2 in terms of B and N, meron tayong PU, which is this, meron tayong phi. So, we can now solve for the dimension N and yung dimension ng B natin. Okay? So, substituting our equation here. So, our PP now is equal to 0.85. Yung FC prime natin, that is equal to 27. And our area 1 is equal to B times N. Okay? So, we have area 1 that is B times N. And square root of ang area 2 natin is equal to 700 squared P over N. Tapos yung area 1 natin is B times N. Okay. This should be less than or equal to 1.70 FC prime of A1. Okay. So, our value here, so magka-cancel yung B. Pag pinag-multiply mo yung N, magiging over N squared. And then if you square that, magiging N. And if you divide that by this, magka-cancel din itong N. Okay? So, magka-cancel itong square root pag square root mo yan. So, yung magiging PP natin ngayon is equal to, ilagay na natin yung fee natin. Fee PP is equal to 0.65, 0.85, 27, our B times 700. Okay, this should be less than or equal to 1.70. Our FC prime, that is 27, and our area 1, which is B, times our N. Diba? B times our N. Okay. So, unahin muna natin itong equation. So, we need to solve first this, then compare our value here dito para makita mo kung ano yung kukunin mong value ng nominal strength. Okay? So, in this equation, that is VPP. So, yung equation natin to solve for VPP should be greater than or equal to PU. So, meron na tayong PU, meron na tayong PP in terms of B, and meron na tayong phi. So, yung VPP natin, ito yon, itong equation. Okay? In terms of B. So, substituting now our value here, yung VPP natin, that is equal to 0.65, 0.85, 27, B, 700, that should be greater than or equal to our value for PU, which is 4,300, 20 raised to 3 para in Newton tayo. Okay, so meron na tayong equation, masosolve na natin yung value ng B. So, ano yung magiging dimension natin ng B? So, our dimension in B is equal to 413.70 mm. So, yan yung magiging dimension ng B natin. Ano na ngayon yung magiging dimension ng N natin? Balik tayo dito sa equation, itong equation. So, our N is equal to B plus 199.2. So, yung value ng N natin is 413.70 plus 199.2. That is equal to 612.90 mm. So, we have now the value of B and the value of N. So, i-check natin siya. We have to check if our equation here is less than or equal to 1.7027 multiplied by Bn. Okay? So, to check that, yung 1.70, so isolve natin, yung value natin is 1. So, yung 0.85, check natin if this is correct. This is 0.85. So, i-check natin yung nakuha natin sa limit natin. So, 0.85, 27, yung ating area 1. The square root of area 2 over area 1 less than or equal to 1.70 FC prime A1. So, meron na tayong value ng B, meron na tayong value ng N. Di ba? Nakuha natin dito sa, dito. Ito na yung value ng B and N. So, i-substitute natin itong mga values natin dito sa equation para ma-check pag okay siya sa ating limit, which is 1.70 FC prime A1. So, substituting our values, we have 0.85, 27, our A1, that is B times N, that is 413.70 multiplied by 612.90. Yan yung nakuha nating value ng B and N. The square root of, ano yung area 2 natin? So, area 2 natin, ito, yung equation na ito. Ba? Ito yung equation natin for area 2. And then, over area 1, which is Bn. So, ito. Okay? So, ito yung equation natin. So, 700 squared b over n bn. Okay? So, that is 700 squared b, which is 413.70 over n, yung 612.90 multiplied by area, which is 413.7, area 1, which is 413.7 times 612.90. Yun yung area 1 natin. Okay? This should be less than or equal to 1.70. FC prime 27, area 1, 413.70 multiplied by 612.90. Okay, so calculating now our values, we have here 646 090.5, that is less than 11,638 253.91. So, okay siya. Pasok siya. This is less than by this value. So, okay siya. So, meron na tayong B that is equal to 413.70 mm and N which is equal to 612.90. So, ano ngayon yung magiging value ng thickness natin? So, based on the bending naman tayo for the thickness, if you remember, our equation for T is equal to X with square root of 2PU over 0.9 PNFY. Okay, we have the value of PU, we have the value of PN and FY. So, we need to solve the value of X. So, yung value of X natin, that is M. This is equal to N. So, to solve for the value of X here, since most economical tayo, we need to solve the value of M, the value of N, and the value of N or N prime. So, yung pinaka-largest yun. Ito yung N prime natin is the Thornton equation. So, parehas yung M and N natin, di ba? So, isa-solve natin yung N prime which is the Thornton equation. So, yung pinakamalaki sa kanilang tatlo, yun yung kukunin nating value ng X. Okay? So, for M, that is equal to N. So, isolve natin siya. That is yung equation natin kanina ng M, N minus 0.95T over 2. So, we have N that is equal to 612.90 minus 0.95 of D, which is 432 over 2. So, yung magiging value ng M is equal to N natin is 101.25. Okay? And then, for our N prime, yung Thornton equation natin, that is equal to 1/4 the square root of D times BF ng ating column. Okay? So, that is 1/4 the square root of D, which is, ang D natin is 432 and then yung B natin is 264. That is equal to 84.43. So, mag-govern yung 101.25. So, our value for X is equal to 101.25. Okay? So, that is in mm. So, substituting now our value here in our equation, substitute natin since nakuha na natin lahat ng value. Yung X natin is 101.25, the square root of 2. Our PU now is 4320 raised to 3 para in Newton tayo over 0.9 P 413.70 and 612.90 and yung Fy natin which is equal to yung 836, ang Fy ng 836 is 248 MPa. So substituting yung values, our T is greater or equal to ang value natin dito, 39.56. So, kindly check if my calculation is correct. Okay, so pag na-solve na natin yung T, yan na yung magiging most economical section natin sa ating problem. So, our answer now would be, yung answer natin, yung B natin, which is equal to 413.70. So, sa problem, kunin natin yung exact value. Pero in actual, you have to actually round that up. That is 612.90 mm and yung T natin is equal to 39.56 mm. So, yan na yung magiging dimension natin, yung most economical section ng ating base plate. That is for the problem number 1 in your activity. Okay?